They say everyone wants to be number one, but what they don't tell you is the cost of it. You see, people love the spotlight, the applause, the trophies, but no one really talks about the nights of silence, the mornings of self-doubt, and the days when you carry yourself alone. Being number one is not a medal you wear on your chest. It's a scar you wear on your soul. People will cheer for you, but they won't stay up with you at 3 a.m. when you're breaking apart, questioning if it's all even worth it. They will admire your strength, but they won't understand the pain that built it. Because the truth is, you don't become number one by chance. You become number one by choice. The kind of choice that costs you comfort, friends, even your own peace sometimes. It costs you birthdays, it costs you breaks, it costs you belonging. You walk alone, you climb in silence, you fail without a safety net, and yet you keep going. Not because you want to prove the world wrong, but because something inside you refuses to settle. Because somewhere deep within you know, your purpose is louder than your pain. There will be days when giving up feels easier than waking up. But if you can rise even on the days you don't feel ready, that's when you start to build something greater than just success. You build resilience. You build a fire that doesn't burn out. Let me remind you, being number one is not about being better than others. It's about being better than the version of you that once thought you couldn't survive this. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's not about the throne. It's about the courage it takes to sit on it alone and still stay kind. So if you're paying the price today, if you're feeling the weight of that journey, just know you're not breaking, you're becoming. The cost is high, but so is the reward. Because in the end, it's not the world that decides if you're number one. It's you, every time you refuse to quit. Greatness is not a gift handed out at birth. It is carved through pain, one choice at a time. It doesn't arrive wrapped in applause or talent alone. Talent may open the door, but it's pain that teaches you how to walk through it with dignity. Being number one is not about having the loudest voice in the room or the most polished performance. It's about having the courage to choose growth over comfort, even when no one else is watching. Choosing growth is never easy. It means standing in front of a mirror and admitting that who you are today is not who you need to be tomorrow. It's being honest enough to say, I have a long way to go, and brave enough to take the next step even when your legs are trembling. Growth demands sacrifice, and that sacrifice is almost always uncomfortable. It means trading short-term ease for long-term excellence. It means waking up when the world is sleeping, practicing while others are partying, studying when others are resting. You're not missing out, you're preparing. Or you're sharpening your edge in silence so that when your moment comes, you're not lucky, you're ready. There is pain in this process, a kind of quiet pain that doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It whispers through the rejection emails, the failed auditions, the losses no one sees. It whispers through lonely nights where you question your path, and in the silence that follows every door that closes in your face. That pain is not there to break you. It's there to sculpt you. Each disappointment is a lesson. Each scar is a story of resilience. Every heartbreak, every setback, every moment you doubted yourself, that's the material your greatness is built from. When you choose growth, you also choose discomfort. You walk away from the safe zones of life, from the familiar job, the predictable schedule, the easy friendships. You begin to crave something deeper, the kind of transformation that doesn't just change your resume, but reshapes your soul. That kind of growth is not glamorous. It's messy, it's full of mistakes and detours, but with every hard decision, every moment you choose discipline over distraction, you get stronger, not just physically or mentally, but spiritually. The journey to being number one isn't a race against others. It's a constant challenge against your own limits, and your limits don't stretch by accident. They stretch when you push them. When you decide that who you are today is not the best you're capable of being, that takes humility. It takes a deep understanding that potential is not enough. You must turn potential into power, and that conversion is painful. It demands consistency on days you feel empty. It demands belief when there's no applause. It asks you to fall and get back up without any guarantees. There's no shortcut to becoming great, no cheat code to being number one. Every person you admire, every leader, athlete, artist, visionary, they didn't stumble upon greatness. They bled for it. They sacrificed for it. They cried for it. And still, they kept moving forward. Because they knew that every moment of pain was shaping them into something more refined, more focused, more powerful. Pain becomes the sculptor of your strength. And when you allow it to shape you, instead of break you, you begin to evolve into someone even you didn't know you could be. Growth doesn't always look like winning. Sometimes growth looks like holding it together when everything is falling apart. Sometimes it's walking away from a situation that no longer aligns with your purpose. Sometimes it's staying silent when your ego wants to speak, or speaking up when your fear wants you to stay quiet. Every one of those moments demands internal strength, and strength is always born from struggle. Being number one isn't about standing on a stage. It's about rising from the ground again and again. It's about who you become while the world isn't clapping. When you're in the dark, still fighting, still learning, still showing up, that's when your greatness is carved. Not when everything is perfect, but when everything is uncertain and you choose to keep going anyway. So if you're hurting, if you're doubting, if you're stuck in the tension between where you are and where you want to be, know that you are in the process. You are being carved. And what's on the other side of this pain is not just success. It's transformation. You are not just becoming better. You are becoming unshakable. Because true greatness doesn't come easy. It comes at the cost of comfort. And those who are willing to pay that price are the ones who rise. Not because they were lucky, but because they were ready. Loneliness is the unspoken price of the top, a truth few will tell you before you start the journey. Everyone celebrates success, but no one speaks about the silence that surrounds it. On the path to excellence, you will inevitably outgrow people, places, and even the person you used to be. And while this growth is necessary, it doesn't come without loss. That loss creates a space, a deep, unfamiliar quietness where no one claps, no one reassures, and sometimes no one understands. That solitude can be deafening, but in that silence, something profound happens. You begin to hear your own soul clearly and honestly for the first time. People will love you for who you were, not always for who you are becoming. And when your journey takes you in a direction that no longer aligns with their comfort zones, they start to distance themselves. Not always out of jealousy, but often out of discomfort. Your growth reminds them of the growth they're avoiding. And so, step by step, you begin to walk alone. Not because you want to be alone, but because you refuse to stay small, just to stay surrounded. You stop fitting in rooms where silence is louder than truth, and where dreams are laughed at instead of believed in. Outgrowing people doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means you stop shrinking for them. You stop dimming your light to match their shadows. But even in this clarity, the heart aches. It aches for the familiar laugh of an old friend, for the memories that feel warm but no longer feel right. It's hard because no one prepares you for the emptiness that follows letting go of the familiar in pursuit of the extraordinary. You may sit at tables where your voice is respected, but your heart feels unseen. You may achieve things you once dreamed of, only to realize you have no one left who truly understands what it cost you. But here's what makes loneliness powerful. It strips you of distractions. It forces you to look inward. In a world that constantly shouts what you should be, silence becomes a sanctuary where you finally ask, who am I really? Without the noise of opinions, expectations, and approvals, you start to remember who you are at the core. You begin to trust your intuition, to rely on your own approval instead of chasing validation. That internal voice, once buried beneath the noise of the world, becomes louder, clearer, stronger. You no longer live to be understood, you live to be authentic. You start understanding the beauty of boundaries. You no longer say yes just to keep the peace. You stop attending places that drain you just because you fear missing out. You realize that being invited doesn't mean you belong, and being included doesn't always mean you're respected. That's a tough pill to swallow, but it's also liberating. Because in this space, you learn to fill your own cup. You stop depending on others to tell you who you are. You start building a relationship with yourself, one that is rooted in self-respect, self-love, and deep acceptance. This loneliness, as painful as it is, becomes sacred. It becomes the space where vision is born, where your creativity flows without filters, where your ideas are no longer shaped by others' opinions, but by your own truth. You begin to dream wildly, not because someone told you to, but because your soul finally has the room to breathe. And as you create in this quiet place, you begin to build a life that reflects who you truly are, not who others needed you to be. But yes, the cost is real. The key. There will be days when the silence feels suffocating, when you long for someone to say, I see you, I understand you. And those days will test your faith, but they will also deepen it. You'll learn that solitude is not the absence of love, but the beginning of self-love. You'll find that when you stop looking outward for connection, you start attracting people who meet you at your depth, not just your surface. People who don't fear your light, but celebrate it. And maybe, just maybe, when you look back, you'll realize that the loneliness you once resented was actually your turning point. It was the season that stripped you bare so you could rebuild. It was the moment that showed you what it truly means to stand alone, not as a punishment, but as a preparation. Because the top is not for the loudest, it's for the realist. And to be real, you must first be alone with yourself. That is the cost of the top. Not the fame, not the pressure, but the quiet, aching truth that greatness will sometimes isolate you. But in that space, you become unshakable. Not because you never felt alone, but because you learned how to be complete in your own presence. Consistency is one of the least glamorous parts of success, yet it's the most powerful. In a world that is obsessed with quick wins and viral moments, we often forget that real greatness is built in silence, away from the spotlight, far from the applause. You won't always be celebrated. You won't always be noticed. There will be days, weeks, even years where it feels like no one is watching, no one is clapping, and no one understands the work you're putting in. That's when most people quit. But those who stay consistent through that silence are the ones who eventually rise. Not because they were the most talented, but because they refuse to stop showing up. Staying consistent is not easy when the world gives you no confirmation that you're doing something right. It's hard to wake up every day, put your heart into something, and see little to no visible progress. It's disheartening to try again and again, knowing that someone somewhere will still doubt you, still overlook you, still choose someone else. But consistency means choosing to stay committed to the process, not just the results. It means doing the work, not because it's being rewarded, but because it's who you are now, someone who shows up, rain or shine. You will be misunderstood or understood. People will question why you're putting so much energy into something that isn't paying off right away. They won't see the vision. They won't understand the discipline. They'll call you obsessed, unrealistic, even foolish. But what they don't see is that every small action, every unnoticed effort is a brick in the foundation of something unshakable. And while they wait for validation to begin, you are already building in the dark. The truth is, applause is fleeting. One day, people praise you. The next, they forget. If your motivation is based on applause, you'll burn out quickly. But if your motivation is rooted in purpose, in discipline, in the desire to grow, then no amount of silence can shake you. You stop chasing moments of praise and start chasing mastery. And mastery is slow. It is repetitive. It is boring to outsiders. But it is also where greatness lives. Most people want the rewards that come with consistency, but aren't willing to endure the monotony that comes with it. They want the peak, but not the climb. But the climb is where your character is formed. It's where you learn patience, grit, resilience. Every time you show up and give your best, even when you're tired or discouraged, you're proving something powerful, not to the world, but to yourself. You're proving that you are trustworthy with your own dreams. You begin to value discipline over mood. You realize that motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. But consistency doesn't care how you feel. It's the act of choosing to move forward no matter what. It's saying, even if I'm not where I want to be yet, I trust the path I'm on. That trust becomes your strength. And in time, the world begins to notice what you've been doing all along. Some of the greatest success stories began in complete obscurity. Behind every stage performance, every best-selling book, every Olympic medal, there are years of unseen effort. Early mornings, late nights, silent sacrifices, no praise, no attention, just relentless commitment. The difference between those who made it and those who didn't is often not talent, it's consistency. It's choosing to keep going long after the initial excitement fades. Unpaid. It's showing up when it's boring, when it's thankless, when it's hard. And then one day, without warning, something clicks. People start to notice. The world begins to applaud. But by then, you're no longer working for the applause. You're working from a deeper place. You're working from a deeper place. A place of truth, of passion, of identity. The applause becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Because you've already won, you've already built something within yourself that no one can take away. Consistency teaches you who you really are. It reveals your values, your priorities, your resilience. It builds your legacy one quiet day at a time. It gives you the power to keep going long after others have quit. And when the recognition does come, it comes not as a surprise, but as a reflection of the work you've been doing all along. You will be overlooked. You will be overlooked. You will be doubted. You will be criticized. But if you can still rise, still give, still believe, then you're already on the path to something extraordinary. Because true greatness isn't born from applause. It's born in silence. And those who learn to stay faithful in the silence are the ones who eventually rise loudest. Being number one is not a destination you arrive at one day and then stay there effortlessly. It's not a single moment of triumph or a title you get to keep without effort. It's not a crown you wear. It's a mindset you carry. It's a decision you make every single day, sometimes every single hour, to show up, to give your best, to push through even when no one else does. It's about who you become in the process, not what the world calls you. Titles can be taken, awards can be forgotten, accolades fade. But the mindset of a champion, that fierce, quiet, unwavering commitment to excellence, that's what truly defines being number one. It's waking up every day and choosing to rise, to push yourself even when the comfort of quitting whispers in your ear. It's saying, I won't settle, not just once, but again and again, through every failure, every doubt, every obstacle. There are people who were once at the top, once celebrated, once praised, who lost everything because they thought they had arrived. They stopped deciding. They stopped showing up with the same hunger they started with. And slowly, silently, they were replaced by someone hungrier, someone more consistent, someone who remembered that being number one is never permanent. It's earned in the shadows, in the unseen hours, in the choices no one else claps for. It's easy to show up when everything is working in your favor, when the crowd is cheering, when the results are visible, when everyone believes in you. But the real test is how you show up when no one's watching, when the applause dies down, when the momentum slows. That's when being number one is not about proving it to others. It's about proving it to yourself. It's looking in the mirror and knowing you gave it everything, even when no one else will ever know how hard you tried. Being number one isn't about beating other people. It's about becoming the person you said you would be. It's a quiet internal commitment. It's running your own race, setting your own standards and refusing to lower them, no matter how easy it might be to let things slide. That's why it's hard. That's why most people don't get there. Because it's not about one great moment, it's about thousands of ordinary ones done with extraordinary discipline. Some days, being number one means doing the uncomfortable thing. It means choosing discipline over desire, sacrifice over convenience, growth over excuses. You may not feel like doing it, but you do it anyway, because that's who you are now. That's who you've chosen to be. And those small daily decisions, those moments of integrity, of effort, of courage, they add up. They create momentum. They build identity. They transform you from someone who wants to succeed into someone who is destined to. And still, there will be moments of doubt. Moments when you question if it's all worth it. Moments when you feel tired, unseen, or tempted to walk away. But even in those moments, you'll find your strength not in external validation, but in the internal truth that you didn't give up, that you didn't break when things got hard, that you held your ground when it would have been easier to fold. And that kind of strength, unshakable, earned, personal, is what separates leaders from followers, fighters from dreamers, doers from talkers. Being number one is not about ego. It's about service. It's about leading by example, showing others what's possible. Being a light in a world that often chooses the easy way out. When you show up with excellence, you give others permission to do the same. When you refuse to quit, you inspire others to keep going. When you carry yourself like a champion, even in silence, your presence changes the energy of the room. Guidance changes the energy of the room. You risk it. Every day is a new opportunity to decide again. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be committed. You just have to make the choice again and again to keep stepping forward. No matter how slow, no matter how difficult, no matter how unnoticed. That decision, repeated daily, is what makes the difference. It's not one big leap. It's 1,000 quiet steps in the right direction. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for applause. Don't wait for the perfect timing. Decide now. Decide today. Be number one in how you think, in how you show up, in how you carry your values. Let others chase titles. You focus on your habits. You focus on your habits, your attitude, your consistency, Because being number one isn't something you become one day. It's something you choose to be every single day.